A fortnight of floods.
For the first time in our history, the water actually covered the complete goalposts.
2 days of power cuts.
Our focus has been securing the electricity stations at Walham and at Castlemead.
7 days without water.
Well, everybody's in the same boat, so everybody needs water. We're all struggling, we're all suffering through all this.
We look back at 2 weeks into life.
Gloucestershire's Severn Sound.
The floods came in the early hours when we thought we'd got away with it, and it just rushed in like the tide coming in. It was very unreal.
3 people died. 140,000 houses were left without water for nearly 2 weeks. Homes have been destroyed and businesses ruined. Major events were cancelled. Emergency workers stayed on duty for days at a time. Our road network all but shut down. But people went out of their way to help each other.
There are a lot of people that I know that are looking after people who live in their streets, trying to do what they can to help people.
Emergency refuge centres around the county kicked into force. John Halsey from Tewkesbury Borough Council was at their offices that first weekend.
People here are coping well. It's very good spirits. They're being well fed, and they've got a dry roof over their heads, and they've had a bed, and they've had breakfast here, and they're being very well looked after.
And in just 2 weeks, the Severn Sound Flood Helpline, set up to offer support and information to everyone affected, took more than 5,000 calls. It's hard to believe that at that point the worst was still to come for Gloucestershire, but the desperate emergency services lost their fight with nature and the River Severn burst its banks. Neil Renton lives at Pool Meadow by Westgate Bridge. Our reporter Ellie Jackson went to meet him.
We're about 2 foot in water. We're just walking along the street and there's people using dinghies to get to their houses. How much damage do you think has been caused here?
It must be up about 4 or 5 inches inside the house. You can't put a price on it, you know what I mean? This is people's life's work and their homes and that, you know what I mean?
Looking back at the floods and the water shortage. This is Gloucestershire's Severn Sound.
The floods and water shortage put Gloucestershire into the national and international spotlight. TV crews, newspapers and radio journalists from across the world descended on the county, hungry for the latest information and a good story. Severn Sound even made it onto TV with a feature on More 4 News about how we were helping out.
Severn Sound helpline. At the local radio station, they're running a helpline and have been inundated.
They're saying, well, I've been to my water bowser down the road, I've been down to my street and there's no water there. I went there last night at 11 o'clock at night, it was empty, it's not been refilled, when will it be refilled? And we have to things are being done as quickly as possible. You know, Severn Trent, for example, are trying to refill them as quickly as they can, but it is a massive operation. It will take time. Rachel, it's Jolena here from Severn Sound.
Yeah, I've got a young child as well. He's got a bowel infection, and I can't go out very far because she's desperate at the toilet all the time. So it's really bad for me at the moment.
OK, so not everyone was complimentary about Severn Trent's role in the emergency, but when you consider it was the biggest plan they'd ever had to put into operation, you might say they did a pretty good job. Martin Kane from the company told us what they'd achieved.
We've inspected, repaired and brought back into supply a major water treatment works which suffered severe damage during the flooding in just 4 days. We've built nearly 1,000 metres of flood protection around the treatment works. We've recharged the network, having over 1,200 miles of piping, and we've refilled 15 major service reservoirs in the county. We've supplied over 3 million litres of water a day through nearly 100 tankers and 1,487 bowsers, and we've supplied over 13 million bottles of drinking water.
Gloucestershire's Severn Sound.
No one can deny we found some really amazing people living here among us.
We had the helicopter rescue and the lifeboats. People had to be lifted out the bathroom windows.
Now, I mentioned Tanya's situation earlier. She's a single mum, 2 kids, her house has been flooded, it's now full of sewage, and she doesn't really have anywhere to go. Now, Tanya, I did have a guy called Dave call up and offer you some help. He does have a house.
Yeah, I had to pull over. I was going by.
I have his number if you want to give him a call.
Okay.
Are you alright?
Yeah.
It sounds like it's a very difficult time for you.
I just really appreciate it.
People we spoke to during the crisis had nothing but praise for all those who helped Gloucestershire get back to normality.
I'd like to say a big thank you for the people who work for Severn Trent. The actual grassroots workers have done well. I've got a neighbour who's been working 15 hours a day, no days off.
Certainly the emergency services, those who've organised it all, particularly those who managed to prevent the water getting into the electricity substation here at Walham, a very big thank you to all those who worked so hard.
Severn Sound.
To help out everyone, so everyone can get a bit of water at least in each house.
We've just been to the elderly home, which didn't have any water, and we've just volunteered our services and picked up 300 bottles for them, because they have got people in there that are too old to carry water for themselves.
It's very important that people look after the elderly and for people who can't get out.
News every half hour, updates every 10 minutes. This is Gloucestershire's Severn Sound.